This video is going to be a film study where I focus on 4 particular plays that I think illustrate the diversity with which the Houston Texans defense played while maintaining or even turning up the volume on their aggression, ability to get after the quarterback, limit the Pittsburgh Steelers passing game, really dominate throughout, despite the struggles of C.J. Stroud and their offensive line. 4 sacks, 12 quarterback hits, holding Aaron Rodgers to 146, passing yards. I got 4 plays queued up here that I think illustrate the diversity and versatility with which the Texans defense went out there and executed pretty much any concept that the defensive staff wanted them to do so upon command. We'll get the film started here on the second possession for the Steelers. It's a 3rd and 10. The preferred strategy that Aaron Rodgers, Arthur Smith, and those guys have had for later in the season in 2025 has been to go empty. And so what I mean when I say empty is, no running back in the backfield. In this case, you've got DK Metcalf and a slot wide receiver. I think it's Thielen lined up to the top. And then Kenneth Gainwell, a running back who's got receiver-type skills lined up all the way out wide. Oftentimes they try to get DK into the slot and take advantage of those matchups. But in any case, let's see how Houston handles this. So first of all, they play with great leverage. So where you have 3 receivers to the bottom, they have 4 to defend, commonly referred to as 4/3. Where they have 2 into the boundary, they have 3 over 2. That's contingent upon, but also related to the fact that they can get to the quarterback with 4. They can basically pressure, disrupt Aaron Rodgers or anyone else for that matter with a 4-man pass rush, an organic one. So here's the route concept that we got. Rodgers is trying to get rid of the ball quickly. It's a 3rd and 10, like I said, into the lead-in. So, and that plays into the Texans' hands. Rodgers wants to get rid of the ball quickly. They want him to do so. When I say they're playing with great leverage, I'm talking about these 2 defenders here being inside leverage of the number 2 and the number 3 guys. And you're getting MVS on this kind of like outcut that's short of the sticks. Rodgers is throwing the ball before there's pressure applied. Danielle Hunter is looping all the way around, and I think he actually gets picked up pretty well by the right guard in this instance. This is an illustration of the Texans having great recognition from a corner/safety standpoint, a defensive back standpoint, in that they'll allow this route by Gainwell to work its way up the sideline, keep eyes in towards the quarterback, see the ball thrown, and be able to break and help make the tackle with an inside linebacker running, from inside out leverage. End zone angle of the same play. Steelers actually take a 3-0 lead here. I think I have that mislabeled there in terms of a score. They took a 3-0 lead after this failed 3rd down conversion. So here's the stunt that occurs. Will Anderson rushing against the right tackle outside. So they're looping Danielle Hunter all the way around. Let me get that out of the way for a minute. Looping Danielle Hunter all the way around underneath, and he'll get picked up by the right guard. I think it's McCormick. Al-Shaair has inside-out leverage on Freiermuth, the tight end, number 88. And off-screen to your right is another inside linebacker for the Texans who's inside-out leverage on number 2. The reason why I point that out is because it gives those guys a side to play from and then chase down or pursue against these 2 outbreaking routes. I'm talking about the outbreaking routes by Freiermuth, and then MVS, who's catching the football just off screen to our right. The will linebacker and then outside corner, Kamari Lassiter, are the guys making first contact. They play in a definitive fashion, meaning these guys make extremely quick reads. They react well. Aaron Rodgers, one of his many assets is ability to recognize things, coverages, and then get rid of the ball quickly. That kind of played into the Texans' hands here. I think, the Texans are so quick in recognition. When they stop the run, this is what they do. It's formulaic. Stop the run, put you in 3rd and long situations, get after the quarterback with 4, and then attack once the ball is thrown in front. Kind of focusing on 3rd downs here to start. So we've moved to the 3rd possession for Pittsburgh. Once again, it's a 3rd and long. This time the ball is on the right hash, and they go empty left. So 3 receivers set down to the field, the bottom side of our screen, with 2 receivers set into the boundary. Calvin Austin, and I believe that's Kenneth Gainwell in the slot. Mug look by the Texans. Keep in mind the differential looks that I'm trying to show you and illustrate how versatile they actually are. There's kind of this discussion point this week about how simplistic things are for their defense and vanilla, I guess. And I'm attempting to, over the course of these 4 plays that I'm showing you, illustrate that there's a tremendous amount of versatility, number one, in what these guys are asked to do. Having said that, they are in an advantageous position when you have, great pass rushers like Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and others, and it's 3rd and 10. So this is a hybrid Tampa 2. Some people at this point kind of refer it to an irregular Tampa 2. You've got corner up to the top, Derek Stingley in the flats, and then this is Jalen Petre, their spectacular nickel DB, who's going to push to the flats here. So basically him and Stingley up to the top side into the boundary. They are mirrored coverage areas. They're both covering the flats. 2 safeties deep. Well, actually, it's really only 1 safety. This is a corner, Lassiter, their right side corner. And then there is another safety running the middle of the field in between the hashes, which mathematically makes a Tampa 2 incorrect, or inaccurate, I should say, because it's not really a 2 deep coverage. This guy, if he gets a vertical by Freiermuth or wherever the pass strength is declared, he would run and be deep middle of the field as well. Anderson's getting upfield, kind of forcing Rodgers to step up, if you will, and against this hybrid Tampa 2, he throws the ball underneath, which again is exactly where the Texans want the football to go, so that they can, rally and tackle with great leverage, great angles, and support for each other. I have no idea what their missed tackle rate is this year. I would suspect that the Texans' missed tackle rate on run pass downs, first down, it's unpredictable for me. On 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, maybe even 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, I would be willing to bet that their tackle rate or their missed tackle rate is about as low as it gets across the NFL. Same play from the end zone angle. It's an empty formation, ends up being a 4-man rush. So watch the switch that you get between Al-Shaair and this safety 23. So what I mean is Al-Shaair is lined up to the inside, 23 is leveraged to his outside shoulder. And then post-snap, those guys are going to switch. They kind of chip Danielle Hunter here off the edge and then allow the right tackle to take him over. It's a 4-man rush for the Texans, organic 4-man rush. They've jammed Gainwell up with Hunter to kind of impede his release, but Gainwell was also assigned to go block him. In any case, you've got Anderson rushing off the edge against the left tackle, obviously in the Texans' advantage, and that'll play out a little bit later for one of the plays that I show you. But the switch nature of this is what I really like. Do I think that it confused Aaron Rodgers? No, but at the same time that these two guys are switching, just before and at the snap, watch Rodgers' helmet look to his left or right, and that probably is what gives him pause or a little bit more hesitation in terms of recognizing, okay, we probably got a Tampa 2. Multiple teams do this across the NFL. In this particular instance, Rodgers happens to be looking over here into the boundary. Maybe he's checking the boundary side inside linebacker, but in any case, he comes back to the bottom side of our screen from the All-22 or the right-hand side right now, and then isn't exactly sure what the coverage is, in my opinion, and so as a result, has to throw it underneath, plays right into the Texans' hands. This is how Houston wants to play defense. If they can stop the run on early downs, put you in these obvious passing situations, it's going to be really difficult to avoid a ton of situations like this, where they have 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 leveraged defenders who can pursue and make tackles. All right, we've moved forward a lot here in terms of gameplay. We're into the third quarter. The Texans have taken a 7-6 lead. The offense has clearly been, struggling, while the defense was a rock. So it's a 2nd and 12, and I love this play for a lot of reasons. The awareness of Houston's defenders on the field. And so what I mean is when the offense makes a play call, whether they huddle or not, the defense doesn't know what formation is going to be presented. So they're given this empty formation on 2nd and 12. Obviously, it's a pass down. And Houston has a call built in for this situation. And what I mean is this is DK Metcalf in the slot, and that's Gainwell into the boundary as the outside receivers. That's their 2 most reliable, or in Aaron Rodgers' opinion, reliable receivers in high leverage situations, 3rd downs. And so what they're going to do is they're going to drop this defensive tackle underneath of this slant by DK Metcalf, again, into the boundary. Just puts them in the correct look and gives Aaron Rodgers pause. He actually pump fakes, holds on to the football, because that defensive tackle, jumps into the window of this slant by DK Metcalf. And then simultaneous to that, you've got this spin move by Danielle Hunter to win against the right tackle. Really cool look. Kind of dead leg upon approach here. I'm talking about with the right leg Hunter has a unique style. There's some things that he does differently than everyone else, but it works for him. Obviously, he's one of the best in the league. Kind of shocking how few All-Pro/Pro Bowl designations he's got. But in any case, Rodgers is going to end up targeting, I think this is MVS in the slot, out into the right flats. It's a three-man rush, and Hunter gets pressure. To have this type of assets from a pass rush standpoint, it makes a lot of people jealous, me being a Ravens fan, and the lack of pass rush that we had all year. It's a different realm. It's a different world in terms of play and defense. You can drop out in a zone structure, bring three, and still reliably get pressure on the quarterback. Flush Aaron Rodgers out. Like I said, he's going to throw an incomplete to MVS here. It's a 2nd and 12. The awareness of the defense to be able to check into this. This was not called by the defensive coordinator in the huddle on a 2nd and 12. It could be a run play, obviously, but in this case, to the third quarter, it's been pretty clear you're not going to be able to run the ball effectively. Getting this guy in the right spot is related to the fact that DK Metcalf is the closest receiver. So he's off screen to our left, pre-snap, I should say, and then comes into the screen running a pseudo slant, and that's the same window that the defensive tackle drops out in. Watch this inside linebacker push to the flats into the boundary, disappear from our screen basically, be replaced by DK Metcalf, but this defensive tackle's in the window. Aaron Rodgers knows it. The dead leg aspect of Danielle Hunter's spin is what's interesting to me. Everyone doesn't do their spin, set up their spin, I should say, in this manner. So what I mean is the way that his right leg kind of drags a little bit for 2 steps right now. And then it seems to be a setup for the right tackle. It seems to be something where he gave him some information and then was able to beat him to the inside. Faltano, super talented right tackle, didn't play at all in 2024, was able to come back and play, I think, at a pretty high level this year. His matchup with Hunter and Anderson obviously gives the Steelers some intel into how that guy will be able to deal with high-level pass rushers. In any case, the Texans, what do? They challenge everything. They physically contest space and play with incredible leverage, and they do so across a multitude of coverages. I reject the opinion that's been out there the last 48 hours or so that they're a very vanilla, basic defense. They make it look vanilla because they're so talented and they're so well coached. This will be the last play that I show. This will be the strip sack by Will Anderson that gets returned for a touchdown by Sheldon Rankins. Look, it's early fourth quarter. I think about 11:40 left as the ball is snapped. And it's only a 10-6 lead. Houston's defense has been utterly controlling and dominating the whole game. A little bit of a jump type set here from the left tackle. Makes me wonder if he's expecting Gainwell to chip or slow down Will Anderson a little bit. Gainwell does not do so. Even though Anderson has this really wide alignment, a jump set wouldn't be necessarily as effective from a wider alignment because if you're going to jump and be somewhat flat, this guy could get upfield and just beat you around to the edge. It kind of makes me think or suspect that the left tackle was expecting some type of help by Gainwell, possibly an outside release that would force or funnel, I should say, Anderson to him. In any case, that's not what happens, and I will give you the all-22 angle in a moment. It's a violent-ass hit here by Will Anderson. That's one thing I think that has to be mentioned about this defense is they play the game the right way, in my opinion. They tackle, sack, contest everything in an incredibly violent manner, and that's the way you should play football. Rodgers, I think, is trying to go up top to DK Metcalf. You can see where he's looking here, and I'll give you the reason why I suspect that in a moment when I show you the end zone angle. Once he catches the football, definitely looking over here to his left, down into the boundary. Again, you'll see the end zone angle here, the all-22 angle here in a moment. And then right before he's getting hit, I think he just took too long to get to this read, meaning I think he took too long to decide where to go with the football. I don't know about you, but I was so glad that once they reviewed it, they recognized that Rankins, the D tackle who picks up the football, never had his knees on the ground at all. So there was, really no reason to review it. But I recognized that it's an asset, I guess, in the end, to have replay assist to look at stuff like that, especially on scoring plays. But this will be the all-22 angle of the same play, the touchdown, the fumble returned by Rankins after the strip sack from Will Anderson. It's a 3rd and 12. And notice what you've got here from a Steelers standpoint. Down into the boundary, Gainwell and DK Metcalf, their best two guys. And I think, this concept, what they got, a vertical by DK, an out route by Gainwell, and then a later developing in-route dig, whatever you want to call it. I usually refer to a dig as an outside receiver by, I think, Austin, that'll get over the second level of the defense. I think this safety's movement is what causes Rodgers to think that he's going to work the ball downfield. It's a 3rd and 12. I'm calling this a cover 3 look. I recognize that other people, would not refer to it in that manner, whereby this safety's dropping down. He's matching Gainwell to the flats, underneath defender, and then we got our 3 deep guys here, post snap. It doesn't end up looking pretty, but it shouldn't, because on a 3rd and 12, the line to gain is here. It's the plus 45. So by this safety sitting down and taking over that route from Calvin Austin, we're talking about this route here. That safety's going to sit down and take that away. Rodgers correctly determines that he wants to go up top. We're talking about DK's route. It may not actually, go in the direct path that I had drawn. It may go a little bit more vertical to try to keep him away from the safety. It just took too long to get it done, in my opinion, from a Rodgers standpoint. Or another way to say it is the pass rush got there too soon. I have no idea what the timing is in terms of, from the snap to when he gets strip sacked. My suspicion is if Aaron Rodgers was to give you an honest evaluation of this play, he would say, in a perfect world, in the best case scenario, I would like to be getting rid of the ball already, starting the throwing motion right now, such that Will Anderson can't strip sack me because the ball is out. It's a great play, obviously, and then Rankin's picking up the fumble. It's a great pass rush. I think this Texans defense, their pass rush is amazing and deserves a lot of credit. These guys that play in the secondary and the second level of the defense, linebackers, inside linebackers, the safety, or nickel safety, obviously Jalen Petre, they are just as big of an asset for this defense. I love the way they play football. As a Ravens fan and a Ravens content creator for the last 3-4 years, I would say they're very old school Ravens-esque. Stop the run early, put you in known passing situations, get after the quarterback, mostly a 4-man rush organically, sometimes a 5-man rush or some differential blitzes. I do not think it's a vanilla/basic scheme, in my opinion. Does it look as, quote, exotic? Does it look similarly exotic as so many NFL defenses that are almost kind of cookie cutter on 2nd and 8, 3rd and 12? No. D'Amico Ryans and the defensive coordinator and the rest of the defensive staff, they put these guys in position to make plays. I love the way they play football. Between the Texans and the Seahawks, with a nod to the Broncos, obviously, who I have watched the least amount of film of any of the 3 teams that I mentioned, but really haven't seen much Broncos film at all this year. Those are the 3 defenses that make things look balanced. And what I mean is, from an offense to defense standpoint, the Texans on this matchup against the Steelers clearly had a huge edge anyway coming into the game. Being able to stop the run on early downs specifically put them in a great position to be able to get a win. And now book a trip to New England. It's going to be a classic matchup. I wish I could get a preview done. I don't know that I've got as much film in my organized and then in my brain to be able to put things out there as far as my thoughts. I usually like to use film to base any evaluations or predictions on that. But this is my film study look at what the Texans were able to do from a differential or versatility standpoint to make Aaron Rodgers hold on to the ball a little bit longer than he wanted to, and or another way to say it, the pass rush get there to help the coverage out. It's symbiotic. They assist each other, the pass rush and the coverage on the back end at the second level. Spectacular defense, a lot of fun to watch. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you think other NFL fans or Texans fans specifically would enjoy this film study look, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.